My name is Manfredi Treggiari. I work for Villa Montesca Foundation, which is based in Città di Castello, which is a town in Umbria region in the center of Italy. We are the coordinators of the on-site pilot in the framework of the project. So just a few words to introduce myself. I'll go straight to introduce you the next speaker, who is Lucía Jaramillo. Is that correct pronunciation? Okay. She's a senior legal advisor for EAFIP, which is the European Assistant for Innovation Procurement, and which is an initiative of the European Commission. Just like to mention that within the framework of EAFIP, she has contributed to the development of the EAFIP methodology and practical guidelines on innovation procurement. So she has for sure really interesting things to tell us in the framework also of the project. So I'll leave the stage to Mrs. Jaramillo.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much to the organizers for inviting me, and I hope we have a fruitful afternoon. So I'm here on behalf of CRISS and the European Assistance for Innovation Procurement, and this is an outline of my presentation today. I will have a short introduction to CRISS, who we are. Then I would like to give you a background on public procurement and the European legal framework. We'll go then to the rationale for innovation procurement, understanding the taxonomy of pre-commercial procurement, public procurement of innovative solutions, and innovation partnerships. We will see some of the results and measurable impacts of the PCP projects that have been launched at the European level. And then we will focus on the EAFIP support that we are providing, legal assistance, free of charge, public procurers who want to implement PCP or PPI. So this is CRISS. CRISS is a leading consultancy firm in the area of Benelux. We are specialized in public procurement, European public procurement law, innovation, intellectual property rights, and contracting. We act as external advisors and external experts, both for governmental organizations and commercial businesses. Our added value is the combination of a wide range of legal services and also academic research that give us also an important view on the policy, the strategic planning, and the implementation of public procurement projects. So we have partnership with several institutions, academic institutions like the University of Leiden, University of Zaragoza, and we have a strategic alliance with Barter, Salters, and the state in Avocatum. So what is public procurement? Public procurement is the process by which contracting authorities or public authorities, such as government departments or local authorities, purchase works, goods, or services from companies which they have selected by a process with the purpose of performing these services or providing these services. For example, building a school, purchasing furniture for the Prosecutor's General Office, contracting cleaning service for a railway station. All of these are public procurement, results of public procurement process. So why do we regulate public procurement? Well, this is necessary to ensure that the funds are spent in an honestly and efficient manner. That this is done through a basis of serious assessment and not because of favoritism or quid pro quo, whether for beneficial or political matters. So why do we regulate public procurement at EU level, at European level? This is very important with the purpose of harmonization, community harmonization, with the aim of ensuring the free market. What is the current European legal framework on public procurement? So we do have, of course, the Treaty of the Functioning European Union. We have the new directives of 2014. In this regard, we have the directive of public sector. That's the, this one? Okay, yeah, this is it. Okay, so the Directive 2014-24 that regulates the public sector directive. We have the Directive on Utilities, the Directive on Concessions, the Directive of 2009 on the defense and security aspects, Directive on the Remedies Directive for the review process and challenges, And of course, I mentioned already the principles of the Treaty of the Functioning European Union. So this is like the constellation of the European legal framework that is going to be the regulatory framework for conducting public procurement procedures. So this is very important that we have a clear idea of which are the main rules for European public procurement. So first, transparency is fundamental. So this means that there has to be a publication of a contract notice to inform all the potential interested participants or suppliers that in the market. Equal treatment, that means a prohibition also to modify the tender documents during the process or after the submission of proposals in a way that all of the parties know exactly which are the rules of the game. Non-discrimination, that means that there has to be an open competition for the contract to all European suppliers. And proportionality. Proportionality in the sense that the requirements should not be onerous or unreasonable. They should be proportional. So let's think a little bit further on the role of public procurement. The strategic role of public procurement. Strategic in the sense that you can use public procurement also as a tool for spending wisely the public money to contribute to more innovative solutions, to a more sustainable, inclusive, and competitive economy. And this is how we're going to potentialize the use of this tool of public procurement into achieving better results and addressing challenges, societal challenges. See how important innovation is. So there are two ways or two sources of economic growth. Can have more inputs, money inputs or resources, but also we can have innovation turning into ideas into a reality. And we see that the potential of innovation for economic growth is great. So that's why we want to have this awareness of the importance of the public procurement tool when we're thinking about the future, when we're thinking about the challenges, and how can we do it in the best way. Professionalizing as well the public procurers in the execution of public procurement and specifically innovation procurement. So see, public procurement is absolutely critical to innovation. As innovation from a demand side, innovation that comes with a real need, a genuine need from the public authorities, and this can create actual benefits and innovation. But public procurement, and especially innovation procurement, is not yet used to the max. So there's still a lot to do, and there's still a lot of awareness to be, to raise awareness on it. Here are some of the results of the Science, Research and Innovation Performance of the European Union. That's the report of 2018. And we see comparatively, you see how where South Korea is, Japan, the United States, China, and Europe. So we have a long way to go, and the first step is to be aware, to be professionalized, to have clear ideas on how to start to improve and use the tools efficiently. See here, there's also, we find also differences in budget expenditure and ICT and R&D in the whole Europe. We have here UK and the different countries.
Where's Croatia?
Croatia.
Not even there.
Okay, so there is an opportunity. That's what I want to point out. There is an opportunity to better use this innovation procurement. And when we say innovation procurement, what are we talking about? What is innovation procurement? When does innovation procurement happen? So this is when procurers procure the development of pioneering innovative solutions to address mid but also long-term public sector needs. So we have to think ahead and what can be innovative, what kind of problems we need to solve. So in the taxonomy of innovation procurement, we mainly find pre-commercial procurement. Pre-commercial procurement, that is the procurement of research and development services. Public Procurement of Innovative Solutions, and Innovation Partnership, that is a new institution, a new figure created in the directives of 2014. You've probably seen already many times this chart, and this is a good way to exemplify what PCP is. So you see PCP is a process, a procurement that falls outside of the scope of the directive, so it has a little bit more flexibility, but still the principles of transparency, non-discrimination, proportionality, all of these principles apply, but the process falls outside of the directives. And it's a competitive process in different phases with different suppliers that at the end of each phase are evaluated and are passed to the next phase. So normally pre-commercial procurement use a framework agreement, that is a set of rules that will indicate how the process is going to be conducted in these three phases and set the rules for these three phases, and then contracts for each specific phase after the evaluation to see which suppliers successfully achieve their goals after each of the phase. For example, the solution design phase, then after successful achievement of this phase, they go to the prototype development phase, and then the third phase, which is basically the testing. So here in CRISS, in the CRISS project, you have completed the phase of piloting the solution that was a prototype in order to see which are the benefits, what kind of changes do you need, and you are at this stage, whether you are going to buy or not the solution, you need to open up a new procedure. So a new procurement of innovative solutions, which will fall under the scope of the public procurement directives. So in this sense, there will be a need to choose a type of procedure, decide on a strategy for the public procurement, and have, again, a competitive procedure where different parties, different suppliers can participate to provide or present proposals according to the specification and the functional specifications that are provided, are developed in the tender documents. So you've seen PCP, pre-commercial procurement, that's procurement of research and development services. Public procurement of innovative solutions is basically the deployment of the commercial volumes of end products, so wide solution, commercialization of these projects. And innovation partnership, it's basically the bundling of these two phases, the phase of the research and development and the phase of the commercialization process. In the deployment, in this area, it's very important to meet the conditions of the framework on the state aid and research and development. Okay, so the methodology of having pre-commercial procurement as standalone procedure and then starting a new procurement of innovative solutions under the directives could help tackle certain issues that have been noticed as problems for public authorities. For example, the public sector often pays too much to get non-optimal quality services, and having the PCP could de-risk the possibility or the situation in which a solution has to be bought after the end of the procurement, so it gives the possibility to have this being done in phases, and after the experiences and testing, open a new procedure to buy these solutions. So the experience shows that actually you can save up to 20% by using this methodology in the different phases and a new procurement. Another problem is that more than 50% of the public procurements don't achieve their goals. Sometimes because they are not completely informed of the technologies that are available, or they don't have, there's some knowledge asymmetry when they need to buy the solutions. And sometimes they get into a vendor lock-in. So buying a technology and not being able to, to be able to improve that technology or to look for other solutions, but keep on with the same vendor and not other options available. So that sometimes limit the results and the ability of procurers to achieve the goals that they have set up front. Another problem is, that not even 20% of the public procurement research and innovation grants result in commercialization. And that is also tackled by using PCP and then PPI. And experience shows that 50 to 75% of the results actually are commercialized after PCP. And another problem is that innovative companies leave Europe, and by using PCP, there is the possibility, also because PCP falls outside of the WTO rules, that to be able to set in the requirements the possibility that the testing and the designing of the solutions is done basically by European companies or companies in Europe. So that is also an advantage of using the instrument of the PCP. It's possible to require R&D to be done in Europe. So there are some first results from the EU-funded PCPs, referring here to some of the projects that have been already conducted, 12 funded PCPs that have been completed. Here you have a list of the projects. You can look into the pages. I use as source the European Commission pages, so we have these projects. 10 projects are already ongoing, and 8 are in a preparatory phase. What is the takeaway from these projects, from the results of this project, is basically that PCP is opening a route to market for new players. It gives more opportunities to SMEs who can participate in these competitive phases. You see after the PCP contracts that 73% of the contracts were won by SMEs. If you compare that with other procurement processes, you see that less than 31% or less than 29% of the contracts are won by SMEs in other types of procurements. So this is an incentive for SMEs to participate, and it's also interesting to see that sometimes SMEs can do research and development, but are not suited to deploy large volumes. So, and in that case, they do not participate in other procurements that require this deployment, but they do participate when they could actually do the research and development. So that's also interesting. Another important outcome is the relevance that is given to universities and research centers. PCP has given the opportunity to have universities and research centers participated, and you see that in 32% of the contracts, universities and research centers have participated in a way or in a manner of consortium or as partners. Within SMEs are also often university startups, so that's also interesting because it activates the economy, activate these possibilities for those who are starting, for those entrepreneurs. Another important positive outcome or positive result from PCPs is the encouraging of commercialization. And in this sense, it has been seen that procurers get prices discount, gets actually 50% of price reduction on R&D costs. So this is very interesting, very important. And PCPs can get twice as much R&D done, that's what it means, for the same budget as a research innovation action. So it's also a positive advantage of this instrument. And finally, the results of the EU-funded PCP show that PCP helps create jobs in Europe. It is seen that 99.5% of the bidders of 100% of the R&D are based in Europe. So that's also an interesting and important outcome of these results of the EU-funded PCPs. Well, here you have some of the measured impacts. We go through them really quickly. So the PCP is also improving the quality and efficiency of public services. You see that the deployment of solutions by procurers in the project is more efficient. Public procurers also have completed, you see well here, in the, sorry. Oh, I passed in this one. So in the deployment of the solutions by procurers, you see that 50% of the completed FP7 PCPs have already deployed solutions developed during the PCP. So these are the projects that have already deployed the solutions that that were the result of the projects. Procurers from 45% completed have not procured yet, and this is due to certain reasons. For example, delayed in the deployments or slow standardization processes, of there is a need for certification in certain areas, like the health sector area, or the market situation is the interoperability needs further steps to be taken. But we also see that there's a wider deployment of solutions by other procurers in the market, and procurers from 27% of the FP7 PCPs are already preparing additional larger scale procurement. This is the case of the Thalia, the Praise, and the email. So these are interesting figures and impacts that show the importance of these sort of tools. So here are some of the lessons learned. Separating the PCP and PPI, that means separating the research and development from the commercial volume deployment, is opening market for SMEs, that I mentioned that, enables procurers to steer the industry so that the industry actually responds to the genuine needs of the procurers. It stimulates cooperation between universities, academic centers, larger companies, enables also the performance, enables also the growth of jobs in Europe by using performance clauses, in the sense that the research has to be performed in Europe and not outside of Europe. Also, it's interesting to see that joint cross-border PCP procurement has advantages as well. It stimulates cross-border company growth, facilitates the creation for more open standards-based interoperable solutions. So cooperating provides benefits, like this is the case of the CRISS project, also generates bigger networks and has a bigger outreach. So another interesting lesson learned is that leaving the intellectual property right ownership to the contractors first reduces the risk on the costs for procurers in 50% and encourages wider commercialization of solutions by the vendors. That's an incentive for them to participate because they retain the IPR that was developing during the process. And also there's using a place of performance condition in the PCP. I've mentioned it already, but I mention it again, the importance of having these capacities being developed in Europe for Europe, the creation of solutions. So the European Commission have been supporting innovation procurement, and there are some landmarks or milestones that can be seen through time, since 2019 with the funding of networks of procurers. Then from 2011 to 2020, funding PCP projects and PPI projects, also increasing the amounts of funding. In 2014, there is new procurement legislation and state aid framework. And 2015 is when the EAFIP assistant is created to support public procurers in implementing both PCP and PPI. So here's the summary of the support on innovation procurement that I've just mentioned. And I would like to go now specifically to the European assistance on innovation procurement. So the EAFIP was launched in 2015. In 2015, Corvers, our firm, was a consortium partner with Stella Consulting to execute the European assistance as experts on innovation procurement. This first part of the assistance lasted from 2015 till 2018. And in 2019, there was a new a renewed start of the EAFIP. So we are again open for, our calls are open in order to provide assistance to public procurers who applied for this support. So this support is open, and I will explain further which are the criteria to apply for this assistance and what kind of assistance we provide. So just let's see for a minute the EAFIP in 2015 and 2018. During this time, we transferred knowledge to contracting authorities and deployed different activities, major events, workshops in different areas. And, but we also developed resources and guidance for public procurers. One of these guidance is the EAFIP toolkit. I will do that. The EAFIP toolkit, you can take a look and download the toolkit. This toolkit has 3 modules. The first module of the toolkit on innovation procurement, that is a step-by-step guidance, is addressed to policymakers. The second module of the EAFIP toolkit is a module addressed to public procurers to implement PCP and PPI. And the third module is addressed to legal advisors. So those legal departments that are supporting the procurement process. So if you're interested, please download these modules. It's a very, it's a toolkit that is very intuitive. It's a very easy to read, but it's also providing a lot of examples of good practices. It has references to case law. It has references to, for example, how to develop a business case, how to define functional specifications. So all of these you can find in the toolkit. During this, the initiative of 2015-2018, there were also several videos, testimonials of both contracting authorities and also technology vendors of the advantages of using PCP and PPI as a tool for innovation procurement. So this is nice to see because you really understand from their own words why it was more efficient to do it in this way and how their needs actually really were addressed by using this methodology. And also during this time of the EAFIP assistance, we supported 12 projects, 6 PCPs and 6 PPIs. That means we assisted them in preparing the procurement and in some cases until actually the end, actually the signature of the contracts and the contract monitoring. So basically the EAFIP is providing assistance to contracting authorities, public procurers, not support to companies. So this is basically for public procurers. This is a list of the projects assisted from 2015 to 2018. We have the project from Flanders, the Mobility and Public Works. There was a project on digital elevation models, using information from satellite to actually see underwater what are to have 3D models, to monitor also the movement of land underwater. This is an ongoing PCP. I think they are in phase 1, going to phase 2. The other project, PCP, was a project of the Dutch Ministry of Defense on an ICT solution for mobile radio interoperability. They had a problem in the use of radios because not all radios are interoperable. So when they go to mission, they have to carry all sorts of radios in order to be able to communicate with their peers from other countries also. So they needed to have something interoperable and perhaps break up a little bit of the existing market to find new technology vendors and develop new forms for mobile radio solutions. Another of the projects was from Spain, Junta de Andalucía. I see that we have some people from Andalucía here. And we supported the Council of Agriculture, Fisheries and Rural Development to develop mobile devices to inspect the food quality. This is a procurement that is ongoing because participants from Italy, this from ASST Pavia, this was a PCP on an original solution for evaluating the fragility of coronary atherosclerotic plaque. So this is also an ongoing project, also monitoring this project, and they received support in the market consultation, in the development of the tender documents in this space. So this was already published as a contract notice for a PCP and ongoing. The project was from Lithuania, Bank of Lithuania, on the blockchain. So basically for them, the assistance was on best practice on innovation procurement. We have a project also, we had a project on Romania, and also there are participants from Romania here. This was a project of Telkom Romania. This is a 111 location autonomous system using software-defined radio. Supported them on good practices, and this is a project that is taking a little bit of time before they decide to move on in certain areas. So these are PCP projects assisted on 2015-2018 for the PPI projects, that's Public Procurement of Innovative Solutions. We assisted at Waterschapshuis, that is in the water sector in the Netherlands. They developed a central distribution layer. They basically developed this layer to obtain information that will be used for according to the inspired directive on geolocation. So they collected information from 21 water boards from the Netherlands and keep it in this layer. So they developed this layer. That was one of the projects. We assisted also the University Hospital in Zaragoza. Their project was an intelligence laundry system. So they renewed completely the laundry system in the hospital and implemented new technology also for machines, laundry machines, but helping to lift the burden of all the workers that had to do manual labor in the laundry system. So they digitalized also certain things. So it was an interesting project as well. We provided some support to Canales Saber, that was on the modernization of customers' information systems, basically on best practice on innovation procurement. Región de Castilla y León, they also received a training on innovation procurement when they were working on the design of the platform in the support of entrepreneurship ecosystems. The final two ones, Gijón Impulsa, that is Gijón in Asturias, they are actually finalizing the development of an intelligent data analytic tool. This is a tool that uses big data, and it tries to provide indicators for different end users, including companies, the public sector, the municipality, enterprises. And finally, the city of Cimadomo in Italy also, and a project for seismic modeling. So these are the 12 projects we have assisted under the EAFIP initiative. And now, this is fresh and new. These are the projects that are receiving assistance at the moment. 5 projects have been selected until now, but the assistance is still open. The call is still open until the 13th of December for this year. So if you want to apply, this is the moment to do it. We are assisting at the moment 5 projects. I said one is the BVL, that's Waterschapsbedrijf Limburg. That is from the Netherlands. They are developing artificial intelligence model for the management of the water sewage. So they try to predict what's going to happen with the water pipes to have a risk, to address any problem before the problem happens, and use a lot of information, a lot of data, historical data that they already have, to have these analytic models. So they have conducted they did the prior art analysis. We supported with the prior art analysis, the market consultation, and the tender. The contract notice is about to be published. So the tender documents are almost ready. Interesting project. Then we have the project also. The government of Canarias was also selected to receive EAFIP assistance for one of the projects, because they have a very ambitious plan in the health area, in the health field. But this specific project has to do with personalized medicine. It's sort of more than a symptom checker, but personalized medicine. This is also a PCP project, and it's ongoing. They are at the moment of the market consultation process. The third project is the Moonstrom Living Lab. This is a project of the capital region, the Brussels capital region. This is meant to be a living lab to monitor the flow of traffic and to use different technologies in order to improve the flow of the traffic in the center, especially of Brussels. It's going to be a pilot project. Then we are also assisting the Austrian Patent Office, enhancing customer service chatbot, that is Albert. So Albert is going to go to the next step of improved chatbot Albert, because at the moment it's just providing information after some searches and questions, but information that is already built upon. But the idea is that now chatbot Albert uses artificial intelligence and machine learning to be sort of a more autonomous customer service and to respond to the questions and the searches of those who go for answers to the platform of the patent office in Austria. And the last project that we're assisting at the moment is Smart Dublin. Well, Dublin, the city, they have a problem. They have live, the ring boys, the lifesavers. They have them across the city. But the problem is that they lose these ring boys. So they disappear, or they go into the water, or people take them, and they need to be monitoring this all the time. So that means that they have to invest a lot of resources in monitoring, in like even driving around to see that these ring boys are there. Some people drown because there was no lifesaver. So what they want to do is use Internet of Things to have sensors that last for longer time, like years and years, so they can track these lifesavers to see where they are. So of course not having then the burden of being monitoring them physically, but actually having them monitored from dashboard platform. So these are the projects that we are now assisting as EAFIP. So just to give you an idea, let's see which is the EAFIP methodology. We focus a lot, I'm very sorry, on these 5 steps. That's the need identification and assessment, a prior art analysis, the analysis of the standards, and get into market consultation and do value calculations to have a good business case before you go to choose the strategy and the procurement procedure. So that's very important. I always say it's very important that if we're going to do innovation procurement, see what's there in the market, if there are patents, and also have a good prior art analysis. We use IPlytics to do the prior art analysis. This is an intelligent tool with patents all around the world, standards, patents essential to standards, and different literature. After the prior art analysis, we can conduct a market consultation to see whether it is a PCP or a PPI that you need, whether there's need for research and development, or there is already some solution that's closer to the market. This looking at the TRL levels that I think all of you have seen this, whether it is no? So whether it's a pre-commercial procurement or a PPI according to these technology readiness levels. And we very strongly recommend to follow preparatory steps, because this is going to give you a better result and a successful procurement. So that means here are highlighted these preparatory steps that we can offer you as EAFIP. And so please apply for EAFIP assistant. This is a link, so you can apply, fill the questionnaire, and hopefully be selected. Well, thank you very much. I'm sorry I've used too much time, and if you have questions, I'll be happy to.